Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the Golden Opportunities Coaching YouTube channel and the Pro Wrestling Logic YouTube channel. This is the WCW Saturday Night Review Series, rare episode from 1994 that we have here. This is the 22nd of October 1994. We continue our foray through 1990. I should have most of 1990 up within the next week or so back to 1989, but this is a brief stop in 1994. This is the night before the Halloween Havoc 94 edition, which happens to be the wonder that is the goofy Hogan versus Flair retirement match. Lots of promos here, lots of very basic things. Hogan and Flair retirement match, kind of getting things going in a positive direction. Also, we kind of see Brian Pillman here, not exactly in his best, but at the same time, not at his worst either. Obviously, Pillman here in 1994, a couple of years before his major run. Still a babyface, struggling a little bit. Coming back from the Hollywood Blondes thing, they did the turn with Steve Austin, and of course Brian Pillman, kind of a little more scruffy and kind of lacking direction here at the end of '94. To be honest, kind of picks up being a mini horseman in the next little while, but nothing necessarily too grand as far as his career is concerned. Then we go to this match, very basic enhancement talent here. Obviously, Flying Brian Pillman is a major star at the time, so him just being in a for the lack of a better term, filler enhancement with Ron Oakes, who is I would assume power plant type guy here in 1994. But again, Oakes gets hip tossed into around. Pillman tries to get some arm bars, arm locks, and the like, super basic stuff. Punch kick, and Pillman sends his man into the top turnbuckle, among other things. Super basic match, nothing worth writing home about, also nothing worth getting overly upset about, and ultimately Pillman hits with the top rope dropkick at the crossbody. Still doing a babyface thing here in the fall of 1994. Then we move to the next in series. Actually, just some highlights of the WCW Roanoke Fall Brawl match with the win for Pretty Wonderful with the tag team titles over Stars and Stripes. Pretty Wonderful, of course, being the nature of Paul Roma and Paul Orndorff versus Bagwell and the Patriot. Highlights there. Also, the heel turn of Arn Anderson on Dustin Rhodes from a previous Clash of the Champion around the same time, probably about a month before. Just a lot of highlights on the show, hyping up the various, matches going into the Halloween Havoc 1994 edition tomorrow. This is the second pay-per-view for Hulk Hogan to put things in context within the WCW run here. And then we go to Barry Houston against Arn Anderson. But before we get there, gotta grab my phone. We'll be back in 2 shakes of a lamb's tail with that. And again, Barry Houston and Arn Anderson, a pretty good run there. Ultimately, some side headlocks. Houston, pretty good enhancement talent at the time. Not exactly getting everything he wants out of things. Anderson in a short match. Of course, Ming, his bodyguard at ringside, and the Colonel Robert Parker is here. Anderson hits with a spine buster, gets a victory. Bunkhouse Buck and Dirty Dick Slater with Colonel Robert Parker facing off against the Nasty Boys at the pay-per-view. Also, Hogan and Flair in the retirement match. Again, Halloween Havoc, a pretty big deal here. U.S. title match, Steve Austin and Hacksaw Duggan. Dave and Kevin Sullivan here. Just basically I don't know. I guess I would call it a filler pay-per-view just because it's not something that, when you look back on it, it's looked back on super fondly. Although Eric Bischoff does count the Halloween Havoc time frame as something that is ultimately a good run. Anyway, we end up going to Alex Wright in an enhancement match here. Alex Wright at the time still a major babyface and 18, 19-year-old kid. So much potential that he never really got to fully realize. I think Alex Wright, as a second generation star, had a lot going on. Buddy Wayne is his opponent here. Buddy Wayne, of course, having the necessary tools to do everything he needs to do to get things going in a positive way. Of course, this is the West Coast Buddy Wayne, who has a lot of talent and unfortunately passed away. His son, Nick Wayne, though, just signing with AEW at 16 years old, developmental contract, high school kid. Amazing there. Super basic match as it relates to this. Lots of go behind basic stuff. Wayne catches Alex Wright in a corner, hits him with a couple of shots, and ultimately very basic. And then we see Alex Wright hitting the spinning heel kick, managing to get everything going in his general direction. Hops to the top rope and gets the top rope drop kick. Cross bodies, high flying by Wayne or by Wright, and Wright gets a quick victory here. Of course, Alex Wright continues to be a guy that impresses at the time, but he never really finds, as I mentioned, the complete run there. Todd Morton against the Honky Tonk Man. Honky Tonk Man still doing the same 80s gimmick, the Elvis impersonator thing. Obviously, Eric Bischoff not a fan of that. Todd Morton, I believe, ends up becoming Todd Jericho. Super simple match. Honky Tonk Man barely takes any bumps. Very punch kick, hits a shake, rattle, and roll in another form. Has an interview with Mean Gene Okerlund, basically calls himself the greatest of all time, and that hype is there. Then the Nasty Boys are up next with another short interview, basically saying they want to brawl with Slater and Bunkhouse Buck, getting that match hyped for the pay-per-view the following day. Highlights of Vader and the Boss from previous pay-per-views and kind of taking that out there in a super basic run. Dustin Rhodes up next. Rhodes has not left the company. Of course, still getting ready for revenge on Arn Anderson after being turned on at the Clash. Dustin Rhodes still doing the natural gimmick. Kind of a little bit held back by the wonder that is his father. I actually do wonder now with Dustin Rhodes leaving or Cody Rhodes leaving the AEW brand, whether or not Dustin will still be there or whether he's going to do only backstage stuff. Anyway, Doug Allen is the opponent for Dustin Rhodes here, and a super simple basic thing. Very basic punch kick, clotheslines, and other basic maneuvers along the way here. Rhodes gets a win in about 3 minutes with a bulldog. Hulk Hogan Hotline is about as you'd expect. The turn by Evan Sullivan is highlighted. Kevin Sullivan basically willing to beat up his own storyline brother over his alignment with Hulk Hogan, and we continue to kind of see that going in a, I don't know that I'd say completely bad direction. Anyway, Kevin Sullivan managing to get things going in his way in a handicap or a squash match. Very basic punch kick maneuvers on the adversary here, managing to try to choke out his adversary in a quick and easy way. Sullivan managing to catch his man upside down and tie him to the tree of woe. 1, 2, 3, and a win. Sullivan promising to eliminate once and for all Hulk Hogan, and the concept of the Triangle of Terror, Faces of Fear, begins to be talked about. Sullivan talks about being the Taskmaster, being evil, and then there's highlights of the various, Jimmy Hart thing, Fall Brawl, basically talks about the finishing of the Flair Hogan rivalry with the retirement match. Sister Sherry, aka Sensational Sherry, out with Ric Flair. Flair promises in a very basic promo that he is going to eliminate Hulk Hogan once and for all. Terry Funk in a squash match here. Terry Funk is still in doing the Dustin Rhodes thing. Funk not here for very long. Bunkhouse Bunk and Terry Funk. Bunkhouse Buck and Terry Funk are out for a tag match here. And again, super basic stuff. Bunkhouse Buck manages to get a couple of body slams off. Terry Funk still has the best punches in the business at the time, or very close to it. Funk manages to come in with a modified piledriver and super simple match. Funk manages to lead to a knockout, or bunkhouse buck managing to lead to the knockout blow. And 1, 2, 3, here we go. Anderson basically says he's justified with the Rhodes thing. Basically says Dustin Rhodes never should have trusted him, and he would never trust a Rhodes, and so it should have been mutual. Uh, Great promo, Arn Anderson, one of the best of all time. Hacksaw Jim Duggan with 2x4 in hand, getting ready for his match with none other than Stone Cold, what later became Stone Cold, then was Stunning Steve Austin, facing off against the Gambler. Duggan in obviously a very one-sided match. Punch, kick, spinning body slam, and the knee lift. Obviously, he's in because of his association with Hulk Hogan. Hype for the Halloween Havoc pay-per-view once again. Then we go back to the ring for the final in the run of things. Rip Rogers against Dave Sullivan. Evad Sullivan, not exactly a great match by any stretch of the imagination. Sullivan, previously known as the Equalizer, been around WCW for about a year. Doesn't last too much longer. Does the old Hulk Hogan spots because he's aligned with Hogan. Big boot, leg drop, body slam, and the like, and ultimately a modified Hulk Hogan wannabe match. Hogan promises to get rid of Ric Flair once and for all at the Halloween Havoc pay-per-view the next day, and we are closed with that. We'll be back with more right after this.